last two videos, we saw already a quick overview of the configurator and the simple mode. And yeah, now let's take a look on the Digitale configuration. This mode allows for much more detailed component-based definitions. The root, so the IfcSolarDevice, is now composed of many individual entities. This includes a frame, a front and a back plate, and most importantly, individual IfcSolarDevice entities for each cell, which are then grouped into cell strings. Yeah, but just have a look on the configurator itself so you can see everything step by step. The detailed workflow starts in a similar way by defining the bundle size. So first of all, you have to check detailed, and then you can simply the size of the panel. The thickness is not specified here, as it determined by the total thickness of the generated plates and cells we will add in the next steps. So just fill in the height and the width, and if you would like to do it, you can also add a weight. Once we have entered the height and the width, we can apply them to our model. You cannot see the geometry directly in the viewer now because the entry only defined the panel's overall size. The actual geometry will be created when the layers and cells are generated later on. So no worries, it's totally fine that you don't see a panel now in your viewer. So let's scroll down a little bit, and yeah, you can also add here IFC classification like Uniclass or A-Team or whatever you would like to use. Just fill it in and adopt it by click on the button. It will be for the whole panel. So underneath we have the properties. Here, like in the simple way, you have the properties for the overall panel. You can add later also properties to every plate, to every cell, to every string. Everything you can configure, you can add properties themselves. This time I will show you the CSV Import feature, which can be used wherever properties can be added in the configurator. There is an example CSV file where we will download in our documentation. Just scroll down to the end and there you can find an example file so you know how your properties have to look like in a CSV. In short, you need 5 comma-separated columns: the property set, the property set name, the property name, the value, the type, and the unit. But just have a look in the example file, and I think that's easier to understand. To do this, simply click on Import Properties from CSV, choose your prepared CSV file. You can also try it with our example file if you would just like to test it. Yeah, and then adopt the properties after proofreading to ensure you have selected the correct file. You can also decide wherever to add or replace existing properties. After importing, you can still delete individual properties if you don't need them anymore or imported the wrong ones. Once you are happy with the properties, don't forget to click the Adopt button. Then just if you click Adopt, and that is for the whole configurator, if you click the Adopt button, it will be written in your IFC file. We can now define the individual layers of the model separated in 2 tabs. You have the tab for the front panel, so every layers are in front of the cells, and for the back panel, all the layers are behind your cells. Let's just start with the front panel. Here I add a new layer. I take, for instance, the name is class with a thickness of 3.2 millimeters. 2500 density, and we can also choose a color. So if you have some colored foils or a colored glass, you can also just add the color of it, and you can also add a transparency. I will reduce the transparency to 90% and add the layer to our front panel by clicking Add Layer. We can also make changes if necessary by clicking the pen symbol, make your changes and save them by clicking Update Layer. We can add more layers like a foil, just also with a thickness, a color, and a transparency. I deleted the density just because I don't know it now. Again, press Add Layer and you can see the two layers we added in your front panel. We can now quickly do the same thing for our back panel. You can add as many layers as you need and you can change or delete them. Once we have added all the layers to the front and the back panels, we can apply the layer configuration to our IFC files. As you can see, our first geometry is now in the viewer. You can see the blue and the back panel glass and the green blue of the front panel glass and foil. It's really important that you click the apply button. That's the point where the information is written in the IFC file, and the much more important, the geometry is generated in the IFC file. If we scroll up now to the second tab, the Viewer tab in the sidebar, we can see the currently generated IFC hierarchy. This way you can always check what has already been generated in your IFC file. So we see now there is the IfcSolarDevice. We see the front and the back panel with the layers, and the layers are also IFC plates. We can then assign specific layer properties to front and back panels, such as a glass type or a thickness if you want it as a property, or whatever you need. You can also import it as a CSV again. So I will just take the examples just to edit that we have something here. Don't forget the apply button to write it into your IFC file. This works separately for the front and the back panel, so don't forget to change to the back panel and add also properties there if necessary. Next, we can add our cells. To do this, we need to fill in the cell height, the thickness of the cells, the corner radius, the horizontal and vertical spacing between the cells, and the distance to each edge of the panel. We can select a color for the cells and view a preview of the arrangement directly below. So if we adjust the width or the height again, or the space between the cells, the preview will directly change and you can see how your layout will look like in the end. So you don't have to measure yourself how many cells you need. It will configure it and calculate it by itself. Once we are ready, we can click the Adopt button again, and then you can see the cells also in your viewer. If you don't see all the cells like in my view now, it's just because of viewer settings. You can just switch to the viewer tab and can see in the hierarchy that all your cells are there. So we just can't see the cells all because of the shading in the viewer, but they are all there, as you can see. Yeah, now we can select all the cells and add them cell by cell or by row and apply properties to them. We can import also via CSV and add them directly, like efficiency, and don't forget to click by clicking apply properties to the selected cells. So you can also say the first row of the cells got these properties and the other ones got this, or how you want it. Just apply it in the end. Next, we can group the cells into electrical strings. To do this, simply click on the cells or select the whole row. We can add a new string, assign the selected cells to it. That's really important. And then choose if the cell string uses a junction box or a bypass diode. We can then configure the box also, select the location for a junction box or bypass diode by entering the coordinates or just click on the buttons. We can also add properties directly to this string or this box, and in the end apply them by clicking on the button. And you can see a small box now in the viewer. It's just a simple geometry. Yeah, as you can see, I have just added a second string, assigned the rest of the cells, as well as choosing a junction box. You can also view the geometry of the boxes in the viewer. And finally, we can also define a frame. We can set the profile height, the profile width, the thickness, the distance between glass and frame, the overlapping distance, the color and material. And if you're ready with all of it, we click apply and add it to our IFC file, and you can see it directly in the viewer. Of course, before we download the file, you can add properties to your frame. Don't forget to adopt it in the end. And if you're ready, we download the file and open it in the IFC viewer of your choice. I opened it again in BIM Collab Zoom. You can see the IFC hierarchy is now far more complex. The PV module contains sub-entities for the frame, like the frame left, and the front panel and back panel, which themselves contains the glass and the foil layers we defined. So yeah, you can also find the properties underneath, and everything we configured is there. You can also just open the IFC file in our editor and can see them also. So thank you very much for looking to these videos. If you would like to try it out yourself, the repository is online. You can just download the source code, install it, or you just click on the link below. There is also an online version where you just try to configure it themselves. But yeah, you can also download the source code from the repository and just use it for your kind of configurator.